Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to Garbaugust 2025. This is Criminali's great, beloved BookTube event where we read trash in the month of August, and we don't owe anybody an apology for that. The theme, the sort of informal motto of Garbaugust in 2025 is, don't worry, just read trash. In other words, a specific call to turn away from the news of the day, and just lose yourself in trash. And I ordinarily don't like that kind of injunction. It ordinarily strikes me as a little bit cowardly. But in this case, Ollie was wise, because the news of the day in my own country, the United States, is unbelievably horrific. It's unrelievedly, unbelievably horrific. The head of the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, the head health agency in this country, the thing that saved America from being even more of a disastrous crap show in COVID than it otherwise would have been. The head of the CDC, I hate to say it because he's a Kennedy, is insane. He's not evil like a lot of the rest of the Trump regime. He's not opportunistic like all the rest of the Trump regime. And he's not a little bit unconventional. He's insane. Donald Trump put an insane man in charge of the nation's health. He has fired almost every communicable disease specialist in his organization, all illegally, of course. I'm assuming that, parenthetically, I don't need to say that nothing that Trump does and nothing that anyone in his regime does is legal. The head of the CDC does not have the power to fire the people that he's trying to fire. He'll change the locks on them. The military is all Nazi, so they will point guns at the people that try to get back in their office. But it is still illegal. He doesn't have the authority to do it. But nevertheless, not only has he fired all of those people, but he says that he doesn't like the most promising development in vaccines in the last 30 years. Just personally doesn't like it. And so by fiat, the government's just not going to do it. Which means, as I have said on this channel many times, when a mutated version of bird flu starts to sweep through this country, 5 times more communicable than COVID and 5 times more dangerous, including COVID was mainly dangerous to the edges of the spectrum, old people with morbidities. A mutated version of bird flu will not be. It will not confine itself to the edges of the spectrum. In other words, the only way that a country will get through that is by paying attention to communicable disease science. And the lunatic, the insane man in charge of health in this country has decided by fiat it's illegal. No courts will challenge him. Certainly, we had once upon a time an opposition party in this government. They don't oppose anything anymore, so they won't stop him. They could arrest him. They could stop his paycheck. They could at least frank his parking space. They don't do any of that. Just a stiffly worded letter to the editor or whatever. He has guaranteed, that one man has guaranteed, that when a mutated version of bird flu does start to sweep through this country, hundreds of millions of people will die. Hundreds of millions of people. The government won't even try to make a vaccine. They won't even try to do that. Now, it'll probably be a pandemic because countries are all interconnected now, which means it'll affect other countries, and those other countries will use mRNA vaccines to combat it. And I guess it will be possible for the 1% in the United States to buy those vaccines at eye-watering prices. But normal people? No, they will just die. That's in the news. Also, Trump himself has said now 4 times in front of cameras that maybe the country wants a dictator. I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe they want a dictator. All 4 times that he has said that so far, he has slurred it so far, not able to open his eyes, not able to stand up. All 4 of the times that he has said that, he has said it to live cameras and live microphones of the U.S. press. And not one of those 4 times did any person in the room say the hell they do out loud. Not one person in the press said that. Not one. Not even a cameraman. No one said the hell they do. So naturally, I have a lot of news to look away from for Garbaugust. I have been very grateful to it for the month of August. don't know what I'm going to do in September. I guess it will be up to Robert E. Howard. But, last night I picked a piece of juicy trash, and I was not disappointed. This is by Michael Cole, and it is called The Blood of Bigfoot. And this is a story about a group, a bunch of people in the forest start to go missing. Bloody remains of all sorts of animals and whatnot are found. Something is definitely wrong. It's not that they wandered off and fell down a crevasse. Something is killing people. And a heroic cop and his deputies decide they will arm themselves and go en masse into the forest to find out what's going on. And they encounter Bigfoot, and Bigfoot starts eating them. They have all sorts of weapons in their arsenal to defeat or at least combat Bigfoot, including, at the end of the book, some cannily described bioweapons. Not bioweapons to use against Bigfoot, but bioweapons to use on themselves to make them a little bit more formidable to Bigfoot. This was terrible. Despite that, it was absolutely terrible. There's no characterization. The pacing is actually kind of bad. The pacing for a book with the plot that I just described pretty much writes itself, and this author decides to just ignore it. I'm assuming that Michael Cole is his real name, because Michael and Cole don't say anything separate. It isn't like his name is Hidden Sunset or anything like that. So it was odd. It was an odd decision. He also makes another decision, a fundamental decision, about the plot of this book. Which is why, if you gave this book to a Bigfoot researcher, they would smile a good-natured smile. A lot of these men and women, they're experts at good-natured smiles because they get a lot of fun poked at them. A lot. And that's okay. If you're going to research Bigfoot in the field or in the records, you're going to have to put up with that, and they know that. I've never heard of or talked to one of them who was indignant about it. But if you handed this book to one of them, they would give it an indulgent smile, but it wouldn't be anything that they recognize. It's nothing that they've devoted their free time to. Because the whole idea of this book is that a solitary monster has been hibernating for decades and decades and decades, and finally comes awake with a bottomless hunger to eat people. And starts to prey on them and rip them apart, and has a cunning, calculating mind to track them and find them and surprise them and whatnot. And that's not anything that any Bigfoot researcher would recognize. It's not anything they expect ever to find to be true. Most of the Bigfoot researchers that I have talked to have hearts of gold. They are true believers. They are not grifters. And what they are hoping to see in their lifetime, is proof that they were right all along. And what they're right about, most of them, I'm not talking about here about the ones that, talk about floating blue lights and UFOs and interdimensional portals and whatnot. I'm talking about the large number, I would say probably the majority of Bigfoot researchers. I probably should have another one on this channel, shouldn't I? It sure is fun to talk to them. I'd love to talk to Dr. Jeff Meldrum. Oh my God, that would be so much fun. But the majority of them believe nothing of the kind. They believe we're in the real world. As one famous Bigfoot researcher said, you don't use a mystery to explain another mystery. Or you failed. If you have to do that, you've failed. Instead, I would say that the large majority of Bigfoot researchers think this is a large anthropoid creature. A living flesh and blood creature, a rare species of creature that is actually living in inaccessible forests in many parts of the world. They strains credulity just a bit when you start to be told by Bigfoot researchers that these creatures have significant populations in every state in the Union except Hawaii. That strains credulity quite a bit. When you watch like a Bigfoot, there are plenty of Bigfoot channels on YouTube. I subscribe to them all. When you watch a Bigfoot channel about a migrating, intelligent, breeding population of Sasquatch in central Illinois, that's not really believable. That's really not really believable. The analogy that I use is, well, imagine if you could snap your fingers and put a large breeding population of Kodiak bears in central Illinois. How long would it be before one of them was hit by a car? How long would it be before one of them or multiple of them were videotaped crystal clear in the broad light of day in somebody's cornfield? It wouldn't take long. Wouldn't be more than a month. It certainly wouldn't be, the records here, the folklore in Illinois and Ohio and the upper Midwest and all goes back a century. It certainly wouldn't be a century without any hard evidence. That certainly wouldn't be true. And when I say that, people, Bigfoot researchers and Bigfoot enthusiasts say, well, yeah, but the animal that we're talking about has human-level intelligence. So it knows to hide. It knows to bury its dead. It knows what humans mean. And bears don't. So, of course, the bears are going to blunder into a road, or blunder into a house, or blunder into a cornfield. But these creatures won't do that. And again, I say, well, that's not really believable. There is no other anthropoid on Earth that has anywhere near human-level cognition, human-level meta-awareness. Not even close. Not even close. I'm not saying human exceptionalism here. I've gone on at great length on this channel about the fallacies of human exceptionalism, but let's give Homo sapiens sapiens its due. We are the only animal, as far as we can tell, we're the only animal that thinks the way we do. So you can think in another way, and it can be really advanced, but if you're ascribing human-style thinking to a non-human animal, you are basically explaining a mystery with another mystery. A large anthropoid creature that has lived for millennia and was human intelligent would have tools. It would have cities or whatnot. Language, maybe. Bigfoot researchers often say these creatures probably do have a language. There's so many vocalizations, and they seem so regular from state to state, from continent to continent. But those, regardless of the fine details, those researchers would say that's what we're looking for. Not an individual, but a breeding population of large, 7 to 8 foot tall anthropoid creatures. Shaggy, covered in hair, very odorous, very canny, very aware of humans. Now, I have my problems with that. Of course, I want to believe. But you can be as aware of humans as the day is long and still get hit by a car. It happens to humans all the time, and every human is aware of humans. A dark night, a dark country road. Maybe you're driving with your lights off, or you haven't turned them on yet. You round a corner with a rock face on one side and a steep drop of 100-foot tall trees on the other. You round a corner going 60 miles an hour because you know there's no traffic, you know there's no one out there. You can be as aware of people as you want. If you have decided to cross the road at that time, you're going to get hit. And do they have burial sites? Well, if we don't find any remains, except, tracks. So if they have burial sites, okay, so you're telling me if you're a Bigfoot researcher, you're saying the reason you don't find bodies, bones, is because they bury their dead. Okay, well then where do they bury their dead? That's also easy to find. Anyway. The thing that those researchers are not talking about is a big mythical killer creature. One singular big mythical killer creature. So the Bigfoot that we get in this book really did not cause my home team ire to rise. This is just a monster book. And a good one. A good trash. This was really good trash. I never wanted to stop reading. The Bigfoot in this thing is supernatural, basically supernatural. It adheres to a few it can't fly or anything like that. But it doesn't seem quite as indestructible as the Bigfoot that I read in Bigfoot versus the Preppers. So that was refreshing in a way. The whole point of a trash thriller like this is not to wow you with the prose. The point of a trash thriller like this is if you're reading along, you get to the 2/3 mark, are you totally invested in figuring out how the good guys are going to beat this creature? Whether the creature is a giant shark or a killer lion or whatever. How are the good guys going to beat this creature? And I was. At that point in the book, I was totally caught up. So my trash last night for Garbaugust 2025 was quite enjoyable. Quite enjoyable. The blood of Bigfoot, singular. So I'm going to hope to put another Garbaugust pick on the pile for tonight. I really don't want Garbaugust to end. But we only have a couple of days left, so I'd like to cover both of them, but we will see. If it's not tonight, it'll be tomorrow night. But anyway, I'll wrap this up for now. I'll report back at the time. Thank you, BookTube.